So I shot the whole thing with this 50mm lens. Now I did not do any sort of editing. I just cut it up. It's straight out of the camera. I wanted to show you guys firsthand what this thing is capable of. And you can see it is pretty. It makes some really great visuals. Now there are some downsides to this lens as well as some upsides, but here are a couple things. What's nice about this lens is that it has a metal barrel construction, so it feels solid. It's not heavy by any means compared to some of the other lenses. And what's nice about this though is that it's got this nice smooth focus ring, and I feel like it's great. Like, it really helps you get a precise focus whatever it is that you're shooting. Now what I did wish, and this is actually something that might be a deal breaker for some depending on what kind of photography or what kind of filmmaking you do, is that it is missing dust and moisture sealing. So it's not weather sealed by any means, which is kind of a bummer, you know. Like, for me, it's a big deal. I do a lot of video and photo work, and I'm out shooting in the rain or in like dirt and things like that, so I really put my equipment to work, you know what I mean? I don't really baby it too much. So with that being said, it is a downside for me. Now it might not be a downside for you, and that's perfectly fine. It's really just preference. So that is really one of them. And here's the biggest thing. Rokinon is really known for a lot of manual lenses, and because they are manual, they're able to keep the prices low. So if you are new to photography or new to filmmaking and you want something that isn't entirely out of your budget, this is one of those brands that you could look for. Now I think in some countries they're known as Samyang. I think it's the same thing. I'm not 100% sure, but from my knowledge it's the same brand, just different name somewhere else. So with that being said, we're talking about this autofocus. It's a big deal. This is one of the few lenses they've come out with that has autofocus. Now it's big because it's a 50mm, which most people have in their bag, and it's also 1.4, so it shoots wide open with a pretty nice depth of field. Like, for example, this scene here, I shot this whole thing right here with 1.4. So it's really nice how it really separates the subject from the background. So one thing though that I really wish wasn't true is that the autofocus is terrible. It's insanely frustrating to use, and let me tell you why. If you look at this scene right here, this lens is trying to focus. Okay, it's really trying to find a subject, and I'm just trying to focus on the boat that's right in front of it. And for some reason it can't do it. It just keeps on hunting and hunting. And then here's the worst part. As you can see right here, it's hunting and then it just doesn't do anything. It just completely gives out and just stays blurred. And I've never seen that really with any other lens in just my personal experience. Maybe you guys have, but I haven't. And I've used anywhere from the $100 Canon lens all the way up to the Sony's $2,200 24-70. And I've never ever experienced this in any of my work. So for me, this is a really big deal, and I feel this is a real deal breaker, because if you think about it, you're really selling this lens being an autofocus lens, and then it's got a nice price point too, you know what I mean? So you can't really go wrong with that. But if you are trying to market this for people saying, hey, this is autofocus and it's a budget lens, it's worth considering. But at the end of the day, when you're marketing, when you're trying to market this system, this autofocus, and it doesn't work, I mean, it's just another manual lens that you guys always been selling, right? And so with that being said, I can't recommend this lens to everybody. Most people, I don't think, would really buy this lens if you are looking for an autofocus lens under the budget. But here's the thing. If you can live with that, or if you shoot a lot in manual, whether you're doing filmmaking or if you're doing photography, and you really shoot in manual all the time, and when I say manual, I'm talking about focus, manual focus. If that's the thing, then that's fine. You could go ahead and buy this lens if you can live with that. But for me, if I'm gonna go ahead and buy a lens that has autofocus and autofocus isn't reliable at all, I wouldn't buy this lens. There's so many other options. So what I'm hoping is that in the future, Rokinon, when they come out with a different iteration of this lens, the autofocus system is a lot more accurate and more reliable. So hopefully that's something that they fix. But at the end of the day, my recommendation is either save up for a more expensive lens that's a lot more reliable, that's gonna have some weather sealing, and then the autofocus is a lot more reliable. Or I would say go ahead and go for this thing if you can live with some of those cons. For example, the weather sealing. It also has this focus motor that's a little bit louder, but for me it's not really a big deal. But the biggest thing is autofocus. It totally just blows. Like, it's just terrible. So with that being said, I hope that I answered your question, and I hope you guys consider whether you should be buying this lens or not. But I say go for a different option if you are looking for something that has an autofocus, because there are better options out there. And hopefully Rokinon in the future can go ahead and fix this up. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next one.